This is episode 49 of season 1 of the Launch Your Biz Now podcast, the podcast for all new and aspiring business owners. I've got someone special on the show for you today. I've been having a little bit of a theme lately, which wasn't quite on purpose, but I think it's important. And we've been spending a lot of time talking about mindset and mental health and looking after yourself in general when it comes to setting up a business, because to set up a business, it's a lot of energy and effort and time and stress and all of those sorts of things that go into it. So it is hard, and we need to be in the optimal space physically, mentally, in all areas to be able to deal with all of that extra pressure. I've got Lou Ellis joining me on the show today, and we are going to talk about all things nutrition and making sure you're feeding your body with the right things to look after yourself. So let's jump into it. Welcome to the show, Lou. It's so wonderful to have you here. And to get us started, could you give us your elevator pitch for your business?
Gosh. Hello, my elevator pitch. Geez, I'm still working on it too. My business in this iteration is fairly new, but my name's Lou and I'm a kitchen coach, and I help busy women mainly take care of themselves, feel empowered around food, and stop pretending like they don't have to cook when they know that they need to, and stop pretending they don't need to eat when they know that they need to.
This is a great idea, because your business and what you do is so important, like helping making mealtime easy and helping empower people to feel like they can make healthy, fast meals and not have it be overwhelming is such an important thing for new business owners to have. But before we get into all of that stuff, you are a business owner. You've just mentioned a little bit then that you've had a bit of a change in your business direction. So it wouldn't be a startup podcast if we didn't share your startup story. Give us a bit about your journey and how you've got here and what that's looked like for you.
I have to say one thing. Whenever anyone says elevator pitch, I immediately freak out, because it's usually in the, do you know your elevator pitch? What's your elevator pitch? Tell me your elevator pitch. That's not right. That's not right. I'm like, oh my God.
I know. And there's so much pressure on your pitch. And I think the thing is, this is a bit of a sidebar, but an important sidebar, because I talk about pitches a bit as well. And really, that little bit of time at the start when you're coming up with your pitch to find out the key things that you want to cover. And then from there, you can just play. And as long as you get the rough bits like out there and so put it into an outcome and what their problems are, share all that sort of stuff in your pitch, it's awesome. And what you did was great. And I think it sounds more natural than when it's really rehearsed. I do later, just one of those ones where you can tell that someone's just like scripting it off their head. So it's almost better when you just say it off cuff, because you'll get in some of the important bits that you've got in your prepared pitch, and then the rest of it will just be what it is. That's nice there too.
That's very true. Thanks for the coaching session. My business in its original form was a catering business. So I worked in the city. I was an event manager, and I got healthy. I was sick. So there's the whole sick story, which will leak bad, but otherwise it just becomes so long. But I was sick, and then I got better. And then I was healthy, and I'm doing that like in air quote healthy, when I was still drinking a lot. I was still having so much coffee, and I'd go out and have a bowl of chips and 10 wines in a night. I'm like, I had a salad today. I'm healthy. But anyway, I found a love for food, and I started enjoying cooking, but there was nowhere in the city that I could get my lunch. So I had this crazy idea that I would start delivering healthy lunches around the city. And it was awesome. And it took off. It was just right place, right time. So it was 2013. It's called Lunch Slinger Lou, delivering lunches around the city. And I've got to say, I slogged my guts out. Like, I was an event manager, so I worked 9 till 5, sometimes till 10 as an event manager, because you have events after work. And so I'd get home from that, and then I'd cook lunches for the next day, and then leave early, then deliver them around the city. But like, me deliver them. I had a grandma trolley, and I'd deliver these things around the city, and then I'd go to my job again. I've definitely worn the shoe on both feet in this situation of being so passionate about building a business, and then also doing whatever it takes to make it work, which you need a bit of both. But in there, you need the ability to take care of yourself. So I did that for about 6 or 7 years, and then I one day just woke up and I was on my delivery and I was feeling really nostalgic. I was like, "I used to deliver there, and, oh, remember that place when I was really new, and, oh, that person was really mean to me," and doing my thing. And it just dawned on me that I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't keep on delivering to these people, and that I wanted to actually make like the systemic change of teaching people to cook how I'd taught myself to cook, because not too many years prior to that, it used to take me 3 hours to make a batch of corn fritters. Like, I was cooking tragic. I decided to do that. But then I fell pregnant. So that was 2019. And we're now in 2022. And I've been in pause of, for any business owner, you really don't want to be in the position that I've been in, I don't think, where it's like you've restarted a new business, but then you're on pause. So I'm like, I'm in a holding pattern, and I'm a driven person, and I don't like this, because before was successful. And now I want to get back going again, but I have a beautiful baby, and he's now a toddler, and I'm still at home. And life took a bit of a detour. Now I'm on this mum journey where I don't really want to send him to daycare yet, but I want this thing going as well. So that was not short, but that's my kind of where I'm at.
I can resonate with so much that you've spoken about them, especially that little bit at the end. I think I talk about that in the podcast a bit. I feel like I talk about it a bit, but that balance when you're a mum and you feel like you want to be an all-in mum, but also there's that thing that you want to do for you, and trying to find that balance and feeling okay with that balance is a really hard thing to do. But on that point, I also think entrepreneurship and being a business owner is one of the best ways to find that balance, because you get to pick and choose and work with what works for you and everything like that. How have you found finding that balance for you with the mum life and the business?
At the moment, I feel very tired. I'm there, and I dip in and out of there, and I work in his naps because he's still napping, and then I would try not to work at night, but now it's crept into nights. And then if I wake up early, I'm working in the morning as well. So I can't, it's not quite sustainable for me to do that. So the balance is, I just like to call it a dance. And when I'm inspired, right now I'm inspired and I'm doing things and I'm learning lots and I'm thinking about marketing in a whole new way that I haven't really thought about before. So I'm trying to action all this stuff. Yep. So the balance isn't quite there, but I'm getting to a point where my body's saying you need to just swing back in the other direction a little bit for a little while. And that's how I like to think of it. Like, you do the dance and then you retreat, and then you can do some more and then you retreat. It doesn't need to be a steady, this is my hours and this is what I do every day, because in mum life that doesn't work.
Absolutely. And I think that's exactly where I'm at the moment. Like, it's been a busy couple of at the moment. And now I'm going, all right, I need to switch back the other way and spend some time on me and just recuperate, because you can only operate in this point of work for so long before it starts to turn into burnout. So we don't want to get there. That is not a good place to be at all. Okay, back into it now. So you guys probably won't notice because I'll just edit this out. We are doing a real life example right now of mum life, because we are recording at night tonight, because that's when I do my recordings now because of the bubs. And what happens if one of them wakes up and needs a feed? You've got to bring them in. So we've just been feeding Harry at the same time. Now just put him back into bed. So we are back on. And yeah, I think that's a perfect example of this jungle that is mums, and fitting things in when you can fit it in, and not being too strict on yourself, and not being too worried if it does need to change and how that looks. It doesn't need to be the traditional 9 to 5 or anything like that. We've got to be a bit flexible with ourselves. I know that you talked about the health thing and that we won't go all into that, but I presume the health thing is sort of what moved you into this healthy food space. Is that right? Was there
Yeah, I was an event manager and I was sick. So when I was 21, I had a lump in my neck, in my throat, and it turned out to be a tumor. And then it was cancer. And so it was all of a whole thing, but it was caught up in my major facial nerve. So I had paralyzed the left half of my face, and I still have numbing and tingling in my face.
so?
It's pretty hectic, but I'm okay and I'm here. And I think it's 15 years. I think I've just cooked over 15 years this year. So it was slow growing. So they said it was like I had a 10-year kind of time frame. It wasn't like the faster ones, like 1 year, 5 year. etc., etc. But what they said to me that really struck the chord was, "You're so young. We don't know. We don't really have many examples of people your age who get this type of cancer. So we don't really know what's going to happen to you." I'm like, "Oh my God."
Oh my God.
Okay. So that really stuck in my head. And what are you like when you're 21, Sarah? You're not, I wasn't
What I was like,
responsible.
I was a party animal and it was so much fun, but
Isn't it
probably
fun?
not an absolute soul. But yeah, not
Yeah.
sustainable.
Not sustainable. You're a 21-year-old and it's the time for that. And that's what you do. So the weekend before, I was at Splendor in the Grass, and my
Oh,
motto was sleep when I'm in the hospital because I'm going in for an operation. Oh my gosh. But anyway, so we did it. So that was my catalyst. And that kind of catalyst is almost easier sometimes than just I'm busy and I feel a bit bloated and I know my energy isn't right, but I don't really know what to do about it because no one's around me that's doing anything. So I had the Mack truck that made me think about things, but it was a slow thinking. So I was 21 and I started Lunch Lady Lou when I was 28, 27, somewhere around there. So that's like a long time to get into that.
yeah.
Yeah, but I didn't really know how to cook before that. I did, but from 21 is when I started learning as well. So it took me 3 hours to make corn fritters. I'd invite my friends around and they get so frustrated at me. And I'm not exaggerating. I could call them up right now and they would say yes. 3 hours.
By the
And
time they got fed, they were 2 bottles of wine deep.
Exactly. I don't know. They really loved me to stick around that long. And then we'd get to the 3 hour mark and I'd serve them. And then they'd say, "What's with these? Like, where's the poached eggs and where's the toast?" I'm like, "You expect me to make poached eggs now? Haven't you seen what I've been through?"
Come on. Yeah,
Thanks.
exception realities. Jeez.
So yeah, there was that. And so it was a joint thing. And I don't know what it is with event managers, but they all seem to fall in love with cooking of some version. So my boss inspired me with cooking. I had a friend that inspired me with cooking, and it just all merged into and became this crazy passion, which at the time I was really embarrassed to tell people that I wanted to start a catering business. I told one of my friends and I clinched, which like when I said it, I was like, "Oh, you're going to yell at me because what am I doing? Who am I to do this? What do I know? And I can't really cook and I want to start a catering business."
How interesting.
And
Can we just stop there and talk through that a bit more? Because I think every single person that is an aspiring business owner right now has had those thoughts or is having those thoughts as we speak. And we all think it. It's so hard to put yourself out there. So for whether it's going into catering or whatever sort of business it is, when everybody knows you as this person and you're this employee or you're this person, and maybe you don't seem as passionate because it's just your job. And then all of a sudden you pop out of the box and go, "Actually, I'm going to do this. And this is what I'm really passionate about." And sometimes the response you get from people might be bad, or they might be a bit like, "Oh, that's weird." But most of the time they're going to be great. Most of the time it's all in our head. And it's just that mindset piece that we need to overcome. So it's so nice that you have mentioned that. How did you overcome that? And what was the response that you had from people?
oh, I think this friend turned to me and she said, "Great," because that's what she'd do because she's a coach.
It's like she's
But
all she's going to hear everything.
I had one person say to me, "Who are you to do that?" But from further convos after, they said that they didn't mean it in that way. So maybe I took it, when you're sensitive about something, you hear it in a different tone or whatever. But I don't know what anyone else said, and I didn't really care. It's like even in business now, people, you worry about what people think of you, but it's who are they? They don't even know themselves. Who are they qualified to judge me? I'm just going to do what I do. It's
Right.
go.
All of us are struggling to work out who we are and deal with our own crap. So the last thing we're probably thinking about is anyone else. Or if you are, then that's on you. It doesn't matter. That is
Exactly.
very cool. So we went from catering to switching to this business. I thought when you first were initially telling your story that you were going to say COVID was the thing. So COVID wasn't the shit for you at all. By the time that COVID happened, were you already doing this online business?
Yeah. And luckily, so when I was having the little reminisce on my delivery run that morning, it was just the weirdest thing. I had this flash of the future and it just looked dark. And I didn't have any words to describe that. And I don't know if it was COVID, because that would have decimated my business altogether. And it would have been really stressful because I was pregnant. So when COVID hit, I think I was 6, 7 months pregnant. So I would have had staff, I would have had a kitchen, I would have had all of the things, and then, which happened to friends of mine. And then 2 weeks before they're about to give birth, they're like, oh, still crazy, busy undoing all of their work. So yeah, it wasn't, luckily, but I had already launched one course, which was called Kitchen Sorcery. So it was teaching people to cook from scratch at home, mostly without a recipe.
Yeah. Nice. And what got you into this without a recipe thing? Because I think this is going to be key for the listeners out here, because they probably, I feel like me and most of my friends and I, most of us are in the business space, and most of us have tried things like Dinnerly and God, you name it, any of those meal delivery things that we've tried. And the biggest qualm I have with them is they take such bloody time to make, because you're making everything from scratch. And I'm like, I'm trying to make my life easier here rather than harder. I don't need to crumble and schnitzel, and it's just so many steps when it could be simple. So you've taken that and gone a different direction. So what's your direction? How does it work?
So okay, don't freak out. I just said to cook, not to cook with a recipe, but don't freak out yet, listeners, if you're still here, because lots of people freak out. But so I was catering, and I learned early that I was way in over my head, but I was determined to do it anyway. So I was learning, and I wasn't a terrible cook by this stage. I was doing it. But when you're cooking for yourself and then you go into cooking for people, and all of a sudden you're getting orders for 40 or 50 when you're really, really new at this, like it's a big change. If you have a dinner party, you're cooking for 8, it's difficult. And then this is a whole new level.
So went from 3 hours for prep time to 8 hours. And then you would have been all over it.
Yeah, I was good, but it's just, cooking en masse it's a whole different kettle of fish. You think like schnitzel for your family, and then I was just struggling with time. I worked full time, and then I would do this stuff. I'm like, when can I find my recipe? When's my recipe creation time? When's my time to budget everything and figure out how much everything costs, and so I can make a profit and all of that stuff. And I just really found this way to hack a system. So most of my meals were based around, I guess you'd call it a salad bowl, and they were salads of sorts because most of them were delivered cold, or they were all delivered cold, but designed to be eaten cold. It had a base. So let's think of like chickpeas, quinoa, rice, that type of thing. And then you have veggies, which could be roasted. They could be raw and chunky and fresh, or raw and really diced and small. And then you have meat or protein. So then there's a way to cook that. And then you have a dressing, which is the most important thing. You always want your dips and dressings to be able to be like, you should be able to drizzle it on cardboard and be happy to eat it. And that's what I aim to do. And that's what I teach my clients as well. And then toppings. So you've got texture, crunch, all that type of stuff. And the toppings are easy because they can live in your fridge, and it's the easiest way to hack a meal ever. But I just figured out this way, and to me it became this matrix in my head, and it was just always moving. I was like, okay, I'm doing quinoa. So then with that I might toasted almonds and currants and chopped up parsley, lots of olive oil, salt and pepper, squeeze a lemon, and then it just goes on and on. So might have
It's just made it seem so simple. Like, I think what you've just shared then is, so rather than thinking about all of the things, just think of it in layers and go, all right, I want a layer for my base. I want a layer for salad or whatever, and then layer for veggie.
Yeah.
Think then you can use that, and then I presume you go to your fridge and pick out whatever you've got there.
Yeah. And so that's for salads, and then comes into it. So you have, if we call it like a method or a matrix or like a template, and then there's a template for salads, there's one for dressings, there's one for dips, there's one for soup, there's one for a stew, there's one for curry, there's one for pasta baked in the oven, and it goes on. And then all you need to understand is ingredients. So you've got meat, so you can get a whole chicken, you can roast that in the oven, you can also chop it up into its bits and use the thighs. And thighs are better slow cooked over fast cooked, although you can fast cook them, and thighs are way better than breast in particular because
100%. I don't know why that thighs just are the number one piece that they give you. Who wants a breast? It's way too dry.
Way too dry. And also for me, the laziness factor of I can overcook that thing and I've got so much leeway in there. That's why I love it. And it goes on and on. So then it becomes about knowing your ingredients, which most of us know bits. And we know all of this, like what I've just said, and you've echoed back that it's simple. It is simple, but we're like all looking for this magic pill of cooking in really difficult situations like schnitzel. I never make schnitzel. I was going to make it just
I
nice.
don't know why they possibly think after a busy day of work, I want to come home. And not to mention, you need a bowl for flour, bowl for eggs, bowl for crumbs. Then I'm going to clean that mess up. You're just putting together these meal plans for busy people. No idea.
Yeah.
Yes.
But there's a
Obviously.
note on that.
Upset.
Recipe. Well, yeah. Recipe. It's not your fault, Sarah. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. Recipe take more time to follow than cooking without a recipe. That's just actual fact, because you need to go find the recipe. So you're like looking for a pasta bake. You're looking for a pasta bake that suits the pasta that you have in your cupboard. And then you need to get the ingredients. And then you're always referring back to it with every step that you take, which is why it took me 3 hours to make the corn fritters, because I don't have a memory. Like I do have a memory, but you have a friend there and they're talking to you and you don't really know the ingredients that well. And it becomes 3 hours quite easily. So when you're always referring back to it, and my neighbor actually said this today, which is quite funny, that when she finds a recipe, then it's on her iPad, then she's looking at it, she goes to do the step and then she comes back and she's got to unlock it again. She hates that unlocking. It drives me
And not
crazy.
to mention, with every recipe, it's got 50 grams of this, 100 grams of that, 50 grams. Like my pantry is filled with like I've got that much Tupperware. I should be a Tupperware rep. But they're literally all these things that I will use once and then they sit in there for 3 years until I'm like, well, maybe I should chuck that out, because you buy it and then never use it again. So being able to do this is so much more empowering.
Yeah. And so once you understand ingredients, you can use things in your pantry and in your fridge that are just there. You don't need you don't need to go to shops to find things to suit it. Maybe you do sometimes, but not always. So this whole cooking without a recipe becomes a way to, you save money. Average home throws out $2,500 worth of food a year. It's like 1 in 5 bags of groceries get thrown in the bin. And that's pre-inflation as well. So we're up to whatever it is now. Let's say $3,000.
Wow.
And then you add into that dinnerly or whatever the meal kit is. And the last I checked, I was looking at one meal kit and it was about $35 for 2 serves of food, which I believe, I can't see what the menu is in there, but for what we'd probably choose, because I eat really simple stuff. Like I cook very simple food. It might look fancy on Instagram, but it's not fancy. So for me, it was like $35 for a potential 2 servings of spag bowl, when I could make it for maybe $10 and get 10 served out of it. And then I have 5 dinners, or 4, sorry, because we're eating it that night. So I have 4 dinners sorted for the next month. Spag bowl once a week for the next month, done for the same price.
All right. Well, all of this is awesome. Obviously, let's talk more about the pain point that aspiring business owners will have. So I think we touched on it. What do you think aspiring business owners or new business owners or existing business owners get into the trap of? Like, what's the problems that they're having? What happens when they don't have this sorted or don't know what to do around this?
So you're passionate and you've started a thing and you love your thing so much. And often people will call their thing their business. Like, why am I saying thing? Your business, call it like their baby or something like that, or whatever. And it becomes their life and it's this driver and you have a big vision for it and you can see the future and the future looks amazing and you want to help all these people. And but you can't do that from a cup that's unfull. And so food is important. Lots of people will skip meals because busy, or they think they're not hungry, they'll have coffee instead. And I'm saying this because like I do it too.
I don't sort of like relate to all of this. Like I put my head down and going, oh no, this is all me.
So we all need reminders about this because eating and for humans cooking it's innate. Like it is a basic survival skill. And if you looked at it from the perspective of the animals out there in the world, they would think that humans are nuts for not knowing how to cook and thinking that they can't cook. Like, I can't feed myself. A dolphin would be like, are you kidding, mate? Does that make sense? This is my analogy. That makes
But
it a bit
100%
wild,
makes
but
sense. That definitely. Like, I think it's just easy to just let it drop off and to have other priorities and just. But Lou, if we're out there, I might be putting my hand up for this, and we are, and you're aspiring business owner, and we're going, oh, yeah, this is definitely the area that I need to work on. What are some hacks that you could share with us for us to take away to go, all right, let's start making one thing that we do each day a little bit better. And how could that look, or what would we do?
so I think for a lot of us, before I can give you a hack, it's really to appreciate where you are and that you're already an amazing cook. So many people say to me that I don't know flavor. I get what you do, but I don't know flavor. I get what you do, but I'm not a fancy cook. But more flavor than you think that you do, because you can go to a restaurant and critique the hell out of it. And also, if I told you to make me a pizza right now, you'd be able to make me a pizza or many toppings. So it's about connecting all of that. So where I love to start it is at the basics with writing a big list of everything that you know. Whether you know how to cook it, maybe you can have, I know how to cook this and I know of this. And then you can start to categorize that in, this takes me 15 minutes, this takes me half an hour, this takes me longer, like a schnitzel, and put that on your fridge. So when you are crazy and all you want to do is be writing those emails or doing what you do in your business, but you need to take time to eat, because you're going to remember that Lou told you that you need to eat, because if you're not going to eat, you can't do your best work. You're not going to be creative. You're not going to be as, I can't even think of the word, which is just so ironic, productive.
You're not, yeah, but you're not going to be your best self. We're not going to be able to do
I
anything
just
amazing.
stumbled on that. The thing, you can't do best work. Yeah, you're not going to be productive. You won't be thinking as fast. You won't be as snappy. You won't be as on it. So you're going to go and eat. So now you can look at your fridge and you have a list of meals that are 15 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour, whatever it is. The next thing to do is arm your pantry as well with food that is easy to cook. And I have so many more tips, but I actually have a guide, Kitchen Time Hacks, which goes through my best tips.
Yes, all right. We
And
make sure we put that in the show link.
yeah,
That's an online guide that people can grab to give them some hacks and different things for
yes.
their kitchen. That is very cool. We will be sure to do. And just a little bit of a sidebar here, just on the business stuff. So you've done a big switch and you've got a lot of stuff going on. And I've looked through your website and it's quite cool. You've got a lot of stuff there. What do you find works really well for you in marketing?
Oh my gosh. Pre this business, it was always SEO. That's how, which you can't say that anymore because it's not meant to be easy, but that came very easy to me back in the day. And now I just feel like it's committing to a weekly. So I do a YouTube video, which at the moment it's just me sitting on my kitchen bench and chatting.
Yeah.
So publishing that every week, emailing my list every week, and having that as my little rhythm. And then that stems everything else that I do off that.
So you use
That's
that
the
as like your
marketing
long
thing.
form piece of content, and then you break it up and put a post on that, a reel on that, or it might be break
Yeah.
that into mini videos. A big thing we've been talking about in the Launch Your Biz Now course with the marketing stuff is the repurposing. And I think I recently did an episode on it a few weeks back because it is so important. It's so hard as a business owner to come up with marketing content and to put stuff out all the time. So if you haven't got into the repurposing, you can definitely get into it. And YouTube. So I haven't had anyone on the show yet that has used YouTube in their business. I'm just about to start using it in mine just to post the podcast interviews that we do in videos and also different things that I have recorded. How have you found YouTube? Give us a little bit of an intro into how that looks for your business. Has it been successful so far? Are you still in that new stage? What's it looking like?
Oh, it feels so new. Everything in my business feels very new. When you just said you went to my website, I was like, oh, oh my God. Not that I'm not. I'm very proud of my work when it's just,
You never, you haven't worked out
you?
for, I think, first 2 or 3 months on my website, I had someone tell me that the contact us form didn't actually have a space for them to put any notes or details. So they just had to submit their name and email, and then if I somehow knew what they were talking about. And that was months. So that's okay. We're all there. We're all going through that. I feel like that's the fun of the startup. You get to learn it all as you go.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. What was the question? I can't remember.
With the YouTube, so success
The
so
YouTube,
far,
that's
if
right.
you like long
Yeah,
game.
so it's new. I've recently switched tactics of what I've been sharing. So I'm the no recipe gal, and that's wonderful. But I've been actually sharing a lot of recipes. And because my business has been going since 2013, it's a lot of it's a lot of content that I have on there. So I'm now in the process of, some of it's going to go, but it's been a big shift for my YouTube and everything that I've been doing recently, from I'm giving it all away, but it's not really giving it away, because the whole issue with my clients and the people that I help is there's 7 million green goddess dressings on the internet. If you were in a recipe, you would have gone and made one. But this is why we're not really, a recipe right isn't a thing. Like, we lack confidence in the kitchen, we lack skills. There's a whole other mental stuff going on that stops us from getting in the kitchen, rather than you think that you're low on time. And yeah, time's a thing. Like, we're all struggling with time, but really behind that is, I don't feel like my meals are fancy enough. I don't feel like this. I don't want to do this. And there's all these thoughts which get in the way. So you think that you don't have time. So you don't cook. So now I'm switching up and saying all this new stuff. And so yeah, it's going well. I love YouTube. It's a search engine, right? So it'll go well eventually, but I'm in a new phase. I just switched tangents again, but yeah, back to
I
YouTube.
think it's good, and I think it's still one of the best ways to get SEO today in this new world where it's so busy and there's so much content. So it's worth giving a try for that. Now, Lou, it has been so wonderful to have you on and to talk about something a little bit different for the show, but I think something that's very important to the show as well. But if listeners are looking for you, where can they find you?
So my website is lunchlady.com.au. And I have a free guide as well, which is the Kitchen Time Hacks Guide, which would be perfect for your audience. And that's just /hacks, HACKS.
Wonderful. And I will put that all in the show notes. But thank you so much again, Lou.